Well, hello everybody and welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a hot milk cake with a little flavour of lemon. Now I hadn't intended to do this, but yesterday or day before yesterday I made some cheddar cheese and I have some excess whole milk left, so I thought I'd use it up. So this is a cake, but it's made with milk that's just been boiled with butter in it. And it's quite simple to make, and you start off by preheating your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. That's 160 degrees Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and then you get an 8-inch cake tin and you grease it and flour it. And I've actually used one of those sprays which have flour in the spray, but you can use butter and then flour it and tip the excess flour out. And for good measure I've lined the bottom with a piece of parchment paper. So with the oven preheating and the tin ready, it's straight on to the ingredients. And for this I have 200 grams, which is 1.5 cups of plain flour. I have 180 grams, which is 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm using caster sugar. You could use granulated. I have 200 millilitres of milk, which is 1/2 cup and 1/3 cup. I have 1 lemon, which is a decent size, and I'm going to zest that. If you want more of a lemony flavour, you could use maybe 2 lemons. I have 4 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA. I have 60 grams of butter, which is 4 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon. I have 6 grams, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and I have a pinch of salt. And the first thing we're going to do is to beat our eggs, and I'm going to use my hand mixer for that. And as we beat the eggs, we want to slowly whisk in the sugar as well. If you do it a bit at a time, the sugar will dissolve more easily. And we want to beat this until it's really light and fluffy. So I'll tell you how long it takes once I've finished doing it. But I'm going to put the pinch of salt in, and I'm simply going to start beating. And then I'm going to start to put the sugar in a little at a time. So I've whisked that for 2 minutes, and I did that on high speed with my hand mixer. If you were doing that by hand, then just with an ordinary manual whisk such as this one here, then you would probably take about 10 minutes. But that should be good enough. Now the next thing to do is to put the baking powder into the flour, and I'm going to give that a stir around with a whisk. Just to mix the baking powder in a little bit. And I'm going to sift this into that egg and sugar mixture in 2 additions. And once the first half's been sifted in, I'm going to stir that in, or fold it in gently. And then I'll do the same with the second half of the flour and baking powder. So I'm just going to gently fold that in, making sure to go to the bottom of the bowl. and then add the second half and sift that in as well. And that gets folded in. And then once that's reasonably well folded in, what I'm going to do is take about 3 tablespoons of it, and put it into a separate bowl. Just like that, and set that to one side. And then the next thing to do is to heat our milk with our butter until it's just boiling. So with the heat on, I'm going to add the butter, and I'm going to stir that to make sure the butter melts, and heat it till it boils. And as you can see, that's just about boiling now, so I'll turn off the heat, and what I'll do is I'm going to pour that hot butter and milk into those 3 tablespoons of batter that I've removed. I'm going to stir that round, then I'm going to whisk it to get it fully combined. And with that combined, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly grate or zest my lemon onto that. And I'm just using my microfilm or plane to zest it. Only going down until I begin to see the white. I don't want any of the pith to get in, as that tends to be bitter. As I say, if you want more lemon flavour, you can use 2, or if you only have small lemons, you can use 2 of those. So that's good enough. And I'm just going to mix that around as well. And then I'm going to pour that into the main body of the batter. And I'm going to stir that around until it's all combined. And we want this all to be fully combined. And then with that batter combined, I'm going to pour that into my prepared cake tin. And scrape down the bowl to get all the batter in. And then with that, like that, I'm going to put that into my oven and I'm going to bake it for 35 minutes, and then I'm going to test it with a skewer. Now, I found this recipe on giallozafferano.com, and they weren't using convection, and I'm going to use the convection. So if they suggest putting it into the bottom shelf of the oven for 25 minutes and then moving it to the middle shelf of the oven for 10 minutes. But I'm simply going to put mine into the oven and bake it for 35 minutes. And then I will come back after it's come out of the oven and cooled down. I'll come back and show you the results. Well, I baked our cake, and I actually baked mine for 45 minutes. I tested it after 35 minutes with a skewer, and it was still wet in the centre. So I did another 5 minutes and tested it again, and then another 5 minutes, and after 45 minutes it was fully baked. And this is what it looks like. I've let it cool down, and I've sliced it, and I've actually already had a little taste, but I have another taste. It's nice and moist, and it has a very subtle lemon flavour from the lemon zest. So this is actually a very easy cake to make. I think that would be ideal as a dessert with some cream or some custard or something as well. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to this recipe, and I'll also put a link to it below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.